Welcome to The Locker, Season 3, Episode 38. I'm A. White, along with my partner, Van House, and we do have guests lined up. But before, I want to thank Van for holding the show down last week. The show must go on. Getting the show together. I didn't get a chance to partake once I was on the plane. What I did try to watch a little bit. Seemed like y'all had a pretty healthy discussion as usual. How was the holiday? Before we introduce our guests.
Oh, geez, man! It seemed like that holiday was 2 weeks ago. It was just last week, wasn't it? Yeah. It was good, man. Like I've said many times, man. Sometimes we take things for granted. You know, I have a grandmother that's unbelievable. And time passed by, and next thing you know, she's 90. It's like, sheesh, we are lucky for her to still be here. You know what I'm saying? So going up there to see her was you start realize how much of a blessing it is. So that was awesome. So it was a great Thanksgiving.
Well, that is good. And speaking of Thanksgiving and blessings, we are blessed to have two of my favorite people in the media, just because. You know, I've had discussions with them. They keep it real, and that's why they're on The Locker. And we had I don't think you played with AJ and Max. I think AJ was before you.
Yeah, I think he was right before me. And to say that I'm part of the media is like saying, like, Peyton Manning on that last Super Bowl he was on was like a critical part of that team when it was the Broncos defense that carried him all the way. I'm the dude that does none of the group work and still ends up with an A+. So I appreciate being in the fold of that. So I appreciate that.
I don't consider myself media either, but Larry Vaught doesn't allow me to take myself off of media. So he considers me media. When I group media in a conversation, I say the media, and he says, well, hold on. He always makes me claim that I'm media. So and Carrie Lewis. So, Carrie, we're going to go back to Max. But, Carrie Lewis, I know you've been on here before, Tennessee Week, and we're going to have you back on here plenty. So, let people know who you are and what you do and where they can find your work before we start.
So, I'm just somebody who loves college football, has always loved college football, and has a podcast. That's about the long and short of it right there. And occasionally I can get fired up about both.
Occasionally?
Does the title of your podcast pretty much tell you what the podcast is about?
Yeah, it's Girls Beer Sports. It's a conversation with girls about beer and sports and whatever else, because it's our show and we do what we want. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
And she's a good follow, good information, and it says broad. Wait till we get into the show. You might just see a female in the locker. Wait till we get in the show. You will see she probably maybe next to Van. I don't know, Max, is how broad your realm is of just sports in general, especially football. Like, you may not know who played in Maine Division I high school championship, but Carrie probably knows that.
I probably watched it.
Hey, Max. So, Max, what are you doing now with WVLK? Let the people know where they hear you at.
Yeah, well, honestly, I'm just a trained monkey on the mic. WVLK and Cumulus Media will just call me and say, hey, you're going to do these shows this week. And I go, okay. I don't ask questions. I just show up and I leave. It's a pretty sweet gig. But I'm on the Jack Patty show on Fridays from 9:30 to 10. Van's gotten to be with me on that show once this year. And then I do the WVLK UK postgame show with Larry Glover, and then I'll be on the Larry Glover show during the week from 12 to 3, off and on. But now that football season is coming to an end, I'll go through my hibernation, and you won't hear from me for about 6 to 9 months, and then I'll come back.
All right, so you hear that, people. If there's nothing for you to listen to on WLAP, then you can find Max over on WVLK. So appreciate you for joining us, Max. Let's get right to it, man. Is anybody on here surprised that our offensive coordinator was fired and two questions. That our offensive coordinator was fired, and our running back / special teams coach was fired. And is there anybody else? Van?
Oh, you want to go me first? I was gonna let our guests go first.
Go ahead, Max.
Well, I'm shocked that Scangarello wasn't fired on Monday instead of Tuesday. I was real surprised about that. But no, I was more surprised to hear that the running back / special teams coordinator was fired because I was told we didn't have a special teams coordinator. And that just raised a whole bunch of other questions for me throughout the whole season. I was like, well, at least we have the excuse to knowing that we didn't have a special teams coordinator through the entire season. Now it's even worse because we did have one, apparently. Man, it's this season, and I talked to Larry about it, and this season, this was supposed to be a season for, I think, a lot of fans of BBN. And I think of all the people where this season was dialed up, UK was getting respect in the preseason, the way that things were lining up to where this could have been something that you, Anthony, Van, and me, we'd never experienced as UK players, of a level to where these guys could definitely make it to Atlanta is what we were told, what the preseason, what speculation was. And I really felt for the fan base for that, because there's so many fans that have been following for so long that this was going to be the moment. And you had a prolific offense that backed up with it. I went down the woe is me Liam Cohen days and read through some of the stats of it and kind of just reliving. It's like, is it just because of just how bad this year was that I'm just have blinders on issues that that Liam Cohen had at Kentucky? And you look at the back half of of the 2021 season of how incredible this offense finished out. And you see how amazing the red zone was. Efficiency, explosive plays. Kentucky in the back half of the season for the whole season was ranked 21st in the country. You take just the last 6 games, that's in the top 10. That's how efficient this offense was. And you have something that prolific. You've got an offensive line that was young, but still aggressive offensive line, still has talent. And you've got probably one of the most talented wide receiver corps of my time at UK for sure. And you have a number one first round draft pick and a quarterback, and it just completely unraveled. And there was only one thing that changed during the offseason, and it was coordinators. That's the only thing. You could say, well, yes, you had an offensive line coach change. Yes, but still at the end of the day, if you're 21st in the country, you don't fall down to 126 that quickly or fall down to 96 that quickly. So when it comes to the spans of the offense, it's to me that was the big takeaway. Was there was one thing that changed, therefore that was the change that was inevitable.
Carrie, same question was on the table, but did Settle get fired because he was offense or because he was special teams coach?
I knew that
before the season started. I forgot that. I remembered he was.
I really didn't have any idea that he was. I honest to God didn't. I think I had heard something about there was somebody that was a special team like liaison or something, and maybe that was him, but I guess I never got a name as to actually who it was. So no, I hopefully we can actually get somebody with the title of special teams coordinator in here. But yeah, I guess I'm not surprised that Scangarello got fired. It wouldn't have been the fan base would have gone berserk if they would have kept him, I think, in my opinion. I was kind of on the fence on letting him go though, for a variety of reasons. I did not play, y'all played and everything, but I mean, I kind of saw it as maybe possibly, and I agree with everything Max said with all the stats and everything like that. And we had the, number, first round draft quarterback pick and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, maybe give the guy one more chance to see if he can right, because he seemed to come in and not really understand like what he was doing, and his NFL mentality didn't seem to like translate. Again, this is just from my perspective, translate to what UK was trying to do on the field. And maybe give him another year to try and see where he went wrong and correct that. He gets to pick a quarterback that comes in. I don't know, but in the end, he probably had to go. I just hope that, in my opinion, this doesn't create a revolving door of offensive coordinators. That would be really bad. And I just really, really hope that we get somebody in here who is going to be effective and stays.
Hey, I agree. Van, you doing a whole lot of moving and Justin over there, man.
Look, I was trying to write something down on my phone, and my sister and I was having a conversation before this, and we were texting back and forth. So a lot of stuff. And then Max got me too. First of all, wasn't this the last year of his contract anyway? Wouldn't they have to re-up his contract from the stay? I don't think he was fired. I think they just didn't renegotiate his contract, right? Because I thought he was one of the guys who was up. He coached last year, right?
Did he coach last? He coached
he had
last
a 2-year
year.
deal. Yeah.
Did he have 2-year or 3-year?
I thought it was a 2-year deal. So I think he was already out.
The title, the headline was out.
The special team coordinator.
Yeah, special team out. It didn't say fired. Special team coach out.
I don't know how Max, when he played, how it was, but Anthony, I know there was no damn special team coordinator. He might have been the figurehead, but they had 3 or 4 guys who was coaching something else that was heading the special teams. Also, or they were doing a unit. If you're the running back coach, you're not the special team coordinator. It's impossible. If you are the running back coach, you're not the special team coordinator. You are just, dude, what is happening with you? Are just a figurehead where they can put all the blame on you if they need to. That's all it is. All right, Anthony, it's weird for me. I am a guy who, when I play quarterback, I love my offensive line. Offensive line was the backbone of the offense. Offensive line didn't get credit. When I put up, at the time, although it's been broken, most quarterback yards, passing and rushing, it was because of O-line. But no one would say that. They would say, Van, you did a good job. But when the O-line does bad, the fans are, oh, that MF tackle, what the hell is he doing? So Max comes on here and says, this O-line was pretty good. Max, not one guy on that O-line in the current position would have started last year. Not one. Horsey wouldn't have started left tackle. Cox wouldn't have started at center. Flax wouldn't have started at right tackle. This line at the beginning of the year was pretty bad.
You're absolutely right.
So as an offensive coordinator, how can I call plays when I know my offensive line is a turnstile? Because they can't run a pass block. Beginning of the season, they could do neither one. They could pin and pull, but they couldn't zone block inside or outside or run any gap scheme at the beginning of the year.
Let me bring up John Toth. So John Toth, my redshirt junior year, was named the starting center. John Toth weighed about 270. He's about 6'6.5". So he's already too tall and too small for the position. As a redshirt freshman, he got the first start against Miami of Ohio. Do you know how well he graded out that first game?
Probably horrible.
61. He graded out a 60. The next lowest was me at 79. That's a major drop. When you're finishing behind Max, that's a major drop. So he finishes at a 61. Okay. That's the leader of your offensive line right now. By game 4 against Florida, guess what he's grading out at?
Probably in the 70s.
92. against South Carolina, at South Carolina, your first true test away game as the starting center, he grades out as a 98. How in the world, hold on. How in the world do you improve in 4 games 61% to 96%? How is that even possible? Because
John Toth is a dog who was
John
a center.
John Toth was a dog. John Toth
is a center.
Well, Cox should be a guard.
That's
He
what
should be a guard. But it all comes back to John Toth was not a center. He came in as a left tackle. But you know who he had that was really, really good? He had John Schlorman. He had Neil Brown. And Neil Brown and John Schlorman started calling play calls that rallied around the strengths of this offensive line. The offensive line was not good on any sort of 5-step protection. But you know what they were really good at? Three-step protection, 3-step dropbacks. So instead of going into a walk set or a step back set, they go into a kick slide. Full zone offensive, full zone run blocking, full zone pass blocking is what that offensive line was really good at. They played to the strengths of that offensive line. What I started picking up, because I was saying the exact same thing, Van. I was like, this offensive line, how in the world are they just this bad at the beginning of the season? But then I kept remembering, I was like, if this offensive staff knew what they were doing, there should be some sort of improvement. There's something would have to give at that point. Eventually, game experience kicks in. You can't keep shooting zeros the entire time all the way into game 12. Eventually,
have they not improved? Have they not improved the last 4 games?
I think they improved tremendously in the last 2 games.
So here's
so how much of that is game experience versus scheming for the strength of your offensive line?
I know we both love Florida, so how much of that game experience helped Toth? And when you got game 4, here's my thing, right? And this is why I never blame. It's not 100% on the coaches ever, in my opinion, because you have to execute. Liam Cohen last year had Will Levis and C-Rod from game 1 to game 12.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You missed your starting running back, whom we have just shown made this bad offensive line look pretty damn good the last 8 games he been. He got 100, he got 900 some yards, right? With a bad old line. What if he plays the first 4 games? How different is this season? Not saying Scangarello is a great offensive play caller. Not saying that at all. But just imagine if he had C-Rod from game 1. Just imagine this offensive line had C-Rod from game 1. The same way people have said, well, Levis is a little gun shy because the O-line inability to pass pro, because that pass pro is worse than their run block. Now, I don't know what they're coaching with the pass pro. That's odd to me. That's totally odd. But if you had C-Rod in game 1, look how much confidence, in my opinion, he gave that offensive line in week 9, 10, 11, 12.
But from week
1, 2, 3, 4.
But from week 5 to week 9, you played worse when you had C-Rod.
I don't think they played worse. I think they played better.
What would happen against South Carolina if you decide not to run a double reverse pass flea flicker and throw to the sideline?
Hold on, but that's the thing that kills me, right? How people say on 3rd and 1, how do we not give the ball to C-Rod? But then on 3rd and 1, we run the Wildcat. Why are we running the Wildcat? In 3rd and 1, we're running up the middle. Why are we running up the middle? In 3rd and 1, why we passed it? Why we passed it to the like? You can always go back, right? If that play works, then people are like, wow, that's a great. He's hanging his balls right there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of.
But you brought up the offensive line though. If the offensive line would block, if they can't block a regular run block, why in the world are you telling them to block for an extra 3 seconds
on
a reverse?
Hold on, man. Damn, all this is a 4-person show. Second of all, none of y'all are answering no motherfucking questions. Carrie, let me ask you this. All y'all doing is ask Carrie, let me ask you this. And this is why they haven't answered any questions. Van gonna say, well, if C-Rod was there for 4 games, okay. First of all, I told Van And I don't know,
Yes,
Carrie,
he
if you
did.
ever listen to me talk about it.
Yes, he did.
And Washington defensive line was kicking their ass all summer. So
He
they
did.
knew the offensive line was
He
bad.
did.
So
He did.
first of all, they already knew they had problems coming in. We just didn't know how good our D line was, or the other
Right.
team was going to be better.
You're right.
Second and third of all, I do think Max has a point where they really didn't improve all year. So what the hell are you doing in practice? Carrie, what I want to know from your standpoint, just because they ain't answered no questions, you may bring some more light. All they keep doing is asking questions. They ain't answering none. Do you think, who do you put the blame on? Van don't want to put it on coaches. I don't know who Max is putting it on. If you
I'll put
haven't
it on
got
coaches.
better all year, and they knew coming from the summer that they had issues, and they didn't get better all year, who's the problem?
I mean, I think it's a multi-fold problem. I don't think you can just throw one person under the bus. I mean, I don't think you can throw Scangarello just under the bus. I mean, Stoops is the head coach. And, you know, if your players are having trouble with the schemes, then, you know, they probably need to, and again, I didn't play. I know y'all played, so I don't know how this works. But just from a fan's perspective, just sitting out here and, you know, in the stands or whatever, you know, I would think that the players that y'all, I mean, do you have some say in the saying, hey, I'm not sure this is working. Can we do this differently? I mean, I would have thought that Levis would have had some kind of leverage or something in the position he's at to be like, hey, this isn't working. Can we try this? Can we do something different? Can we maybe, you know, move some things around or do something like that? So I also think that we had some injuries that were not fully disclosed and that were longer than that kind of started out at the beginning of the season that weren't real. Like I just say Levis, and I heard that he had a hamstring issue for the whole entire season. That was never really, but I don't know. Anyway, I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and you just can't put it on one person or one group of people.
So tell Steven Johnson and Terry Wilson that Will Levis had a pulled hamstring, so he deserves a mulligan. That's what I want y'all to do.
I'm not saying he deserves a mulligan. I'm just saying that maybe that's why that he didn't perform as well as everybody thought he was going to. I don't know.
I'm gonna say this. You know what's so crazy about this season? And to me, I'm not a religious person. I guess I'm a spiritual person. I think this season's supposed to happen like this. Because this is the crazy part about it. With this sorry coordinator, this sorry offense, this horrible offensive line, we are 2 down plays away from being 9-3. 2 penalties.
Mm-hmm.
We are 2 penalties away from being 9-3. To me, it's just weird, dude. Illegal hands to the face on an interception to seal the Vandy game. Illegal motion or whatever. Was it illegal motion?
Illegal motion, yeah.
Was it illegal motion? Yeah. On Barry Brown, when his quarterback should have saw, he made a reception. Give him time to get across the formation. Be patient. You got time. He short-circuited, snapped the ball too quick. We get a easy touchdown to Dane Key. That's 2 games away from being 9-3. And I would say this, and I would die on this hill. If we beat Ole Miss, Will Levis plays in South Carolina.
Yeah.
We were undefeated. There's no way he doesn't play the next week to keep the undefeated streak. So now, what's this? It's weird, right? It's crazy. 2 plays with all this crap. We can say this guy's terrible, that guy's terrible. We're gonna fire this guy. We're gonna do that. We're 2 plays away from bringing everybody back.
Do you also understand? You also understand we 1 play away from being 6-6 as well, right?
Right.
Yes, that's true too.
And that's the Shannon Dawson philosophy. It would have worked. Y'all would have loved it, right?
Yes, dude. Y'all do you want me to bring up a play again? I'm gonna bring this up. My senior year, we are in the swamp. We are balling. Now the end of the score, the score at the end of the game wouldn't seem like this is true, but let me just go to it because they beat us like 60-something-7. We're balling out. We make them punt twice, first 2 series. We run this. They have this play. Jock Green is the slot receiver. They motion to trips with No, he's the backside receiver of trips. They motion Fred Teller out all week. Corner, you don't bump out to him. Corner, you don't bump out to him. Corner, you don't bump out to him. You're gonna stay on the inside receiver for this one time, and we're gonna let the linebacker extend with him. Oh, we practiced it perfect. Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, go. And the funny part about it was Anwar Stewart. In that game on game day, Jock Green is on the X reduced formation. They motion Fred Teller out. Guess what happens? The corner goes to Fred Teller. He leaves Jock Green one-on-one with Anwar Stewart. House call.
And that's how your season comes with.
House call. That's how one little thing can turn a mountain to hill, because that was 65-0, I think.
Yeah, cop of Corey Price said, hold on, let me ask you all this. We'll start with Carrie, because I don't know when Van or Max going to let us talk again. Do you think, I don't know, all bullshit aside, do you think that I knew they probably had to get rid of Scangarello, but do you think they got somebody already in mind? Because I always find it dumb, especially where we've gotten a culture and we've gotten this program too. You can't just leave a void. You can't just have an empty spot and gamble for a coach. You need to have, and even keeping Scangarello, at least we know what he can do. He's familiar with the personnel. He's familiar with the system. He's familiar with the city, familiar with Coach Stoop breathing down your neck. Does anybody think he has somebody in mind? And do you think possible that everybody keeps saying Liam Cohen? I think is a no. Carrie, do we have somebody in mind? And is it Liam Cohen?
I think he has some people written down on a BHG napkin, for sure. But personally, I've been saying and I couldn't tell you who it is. I was actually surprised. I kind of wanted Neil Brown to come back, but it looks like he's going to stay at West Virginia. I don't think Liam Cohen's walking through that door. I know he's struggling in the NFL right now, but I just personally, and I don't know why, it's just a feeling I have. I don't see him walking back through that door. I think we're going to have to go get somebody else. I'd kind of like to see Dan Mullins, tell you the truth. I don't think that would be bad at all.
Hey Max, Lake Dog says, do you think it's going to be, do you think it could possibly be Woodward? And
I think
and Liam Cohen, hold on, and Max, Liam Cohen, they can get Liam Cohen where he at paid wise right now. Yeah, you do got to recruit in the offseason, which you don't have to do in the NFL, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's true too.
The one thing about Liam Cohen is I think he's gotten the taste of reality of what it's like being in the NFL as a coach, of how quickly things can change from a Super Bowl to 3-7 versus if he came here and did better than what Scangarello did, he will be treated like a god here. Jeff Ruby's anytime you want. BHG, any of them, anytime you want, for free. You like that little 500 square foot home that you bought for $1.8 million in LA? Boom, you're living in a 6,000 square foot mansion now with the money. Everything's better in Lexington compared to LA. Who would? First of all, except the weather. I'll give you the weather, but I'd rather be in a 6,000 square foot mansion with Lexington weather than a hut in LA with that weather. But anyway, I don't know if Liam's going to do it or not. It seems that's a very tall ask. That's very Hollywood-esque to have him come back. I hope it happens, but a part of me is kind of like with Carrie. I'm ready for Mark Stoops to start opening his own Nick Saban coach recovery program of bringing in fired coaches. Bring them in, 2 years gone, send them out the door. I'd be for that. Have an electrifying offense. Each year you get a hot name coming in every 2 years or so. By all means, let's do it. We've already got Mike Stoops on staff. Why not bring in Dan Mullen at this point? Or he's got a short list. And my guess is going to be the recipe that succeeds right now is two things. Young coordinators that know how to recruit these high school players and able to relate to them. And then two, fast, fun and gun offenses. I don't know if Stoops is going to pull the trigger on that, but here's the thing about Stoops, though. Here's the thing. He's stubborn at first, but he will always adapt in order to get better. This man lived and died on the 4-2 and 4-3 offense at Florida State in Arizona. Lived and died by it. Would not budge from it. Then he got to UK, and he didn't have a lot of beef up front. He had Percy Cobble, and he had Dante Rumpf, but not a lot of skill. But he had more skill on the edges. Was Zadarius Smith and Bud Dupree. And he was like, I can utilize this. And he adopted a three down front at that point and stayed with it for a very long time. So if the man's willing to adapt his defensive philosophy, who is predominantly a defensive-minded coach, at this point, if he sees this is, like it or not, this is kind of where offenses are going right now in college football for the near future. Do you finally pull the trigger and say, okay, Kentucky's going to get into this. I've got the skill set to run it. All I got to do is get one transfer quarterback. I got to get probably another center and then maybe one more senior running back to help out. And at that point, you've got all the tools you need to run this thing and get a young guy in here that's going to bring a lot of energy and have these guys believing that they can run something similar to what Tennessee and Mississippi State and those guys are running right now.
Hold on, Van. Carrie, let me ask you this before we get to the – and if y'all can throw this right, it kind of bounces off what Max said while I'm asking Carrie because I know Van's going to reply. He was going to reply after this. But do you think Liam Cohen comes back? First of all, do you think Liam Cohen caught lightning in the bottle? Secondly, do you think he comes back and remove all doubt?
Man, I don't know. I think there is something to that to be said that he did possibly catch lightning in a bottle. To tell you the truth, I don't think he was necessarily looking for another job, and I don't think he was necessarily looking for another job in the NFL last year. But I think it freed him up to kind of just let's go do this thing, and that's what he did. And then that kind of landed him in the NFL. I've totally blanked on the second part of your question.
No, that was basically it. Was
in terms of him going to the NFL, I don't know. Is he the type of guy that doesn't want to admit defeat in the NFL? Would coming back here be like, oh, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it out there. I couldn't make it in LA. I couldn't make it in the NFL. Yeah, I got a Super Bowl, but then I tanked and then I had to go back to college. Yeah, I don't know if that's the kind of guy he is that would not, it wouldn't appeal to him to necessarily have to do that. Or
Liam didn't get a Super Bowl? Liam was here when they was winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Yeah, he went there after they won the Super Bowl. Yeah,
so he don't even got that to hang his hat on.
But either way, I mean, I'm saying he would have to admit that he got the NFL kind of defeated him. And now he's back in college. So, yeah, I don't know. I still personally don't see him walking through that door.
And Van, so back to Max's points. I know you were getting ready to answer. And Max is Max act like a millennial. He may be a millennial. I don't know how exactly old he is, but he's one of those guys talking about let's live in the portal. Let's look in the portal for a quarterback.
It's kind of interesting. I'm gonna say this. I just don't see Stoops ever going to up tempo. If I'm a defensive coordinator, it's no way in hell that I'm going to put that much stress on the best side of the ball. So the thing about it is, a lot of people say, well, the defense played well this year. One of the reasons why the defense played well because they were not on the field that much. It's a complementary football type of deal. If you put stress on your unit, it's going to be very difficult. So I just don't see it. I wouldn't do that to my defense. It's kind of interesting that this very similar style of football won us 10 games last year. Now this style isn't very good. So I'm not sure of that. I'm going to say this. Liam caught lightning in the bottle, but also Liam was the lightning in the bottle because without him, we don't get Wandale, but don't get Will Levis. So
no, we had Wandale first, didn't we? We already had Wandale.
No. That
You sure?
oh, the same way how we magically got Will Levis. Yeah. So, but he was the Lightning, right? I will say this. If you put Horsey back at guard, you put Cox back at guard, you get a center, and one of them young kids going to have to ball out between Wiley, Buford, and Goodwin. 2 of the 3 is going to have to ball out. If you get a center and put those 2 dogs back at guard, if Horsey graces us and blesses us with another year, I think just that alone, that offensive line is so much better. Because I think Max will say the center of your O-line's got to be solid. You can scheme around tackles. You can't scheme around the middle of your O-line. And that was an issue for me at the beginning. If we can solidify that middle, those 2 tackles, I mean, if Flax comes back, he's not – I love how people say a guy is garbage and he sucks. He's a D1 scholarship player. He doesn't suck. He might not meet your expectations, but he doesn't suck. I think he can be serviceable at the right tackle, and one of those young guys got to go to the left. And I think that's the best route of us getting us back to the domination that we've had in prior years. We can't put Horsey at tackle. He's not a tackle. You can't put Cox at center. He's not a center. Move them back to their natural positions, and I think if Liam comes back, he will work magic with that because now he's got the core of that offensive line pretty damn strong. I don't know who comes back. I just don't think if you're going to recycle, if he was fired, if you're going to recycle Brown, why would you recycle Cohen? Because we had much more success with Liam Cohen than we did with Neil Brown.
Neil Brown is on his way out?
No, they thought he was.
As of right now, they just got a new AD at West Virginia. They just hired him, so we'll see.
Wasn't the old AD one of his friends or something? Like had a connection with the old AD, I thought.
Maybe.
The old AD had a UK connection.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right. So where were we at? Oh, so we kind of already got. I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask Van this. We can bounce around. Van does okay. First of all, is Yenser safe? Second of all, if the O line, and Max can talk to this as well, if the O line come back next year, Horsey, some of those guys, because I heard there's some players in that the skilled players room talking about I ain't mess with this next year. If he's gonna be here, I won't be here. I'm not playing. And there was people talking about not playing in the bowl game because they wasn't playing for this dude. So is Yenser safe? And if a new offensive coordinator comes in, may Yenser be on the chopping blocks, because if you can't mesh with the kids, if the kids ain't listening to you, you know a guy named Elliot Uselak, man? Hey, man.
Come on, man. I'm surprised I'm gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna.
No, that's my question.
Honestly, I think Yenser has to go. If you're gonna put the blame on Scangarello and fire him, how can you not let go of the unit that was the worst of the whole offense? So there's no way for me I can see him coming back. I still don't put all the blame on him, but if you fire the running back coach, you fire the quarterback and OC coach, there's only 2 guys that are safe. One is hitched to the hip of the head coach, and the other one coached the best position group on the offensive side. So them 2 guys can't go. And also one is making $1.5 million. You definitely can't get rid of him. So I don't see how he survives this. I just don't. I don't see it. To me, he would have went before Scangarello. It's kind of like our conversation about Eddie Grand and coleslaw. Coleslaw with that rotten lettuce, he might have should have been released prior to Eddie Grand getting released. But
Max?
Did you just call?
You shared Yuns are safe with you or no?
First of all, did you just call Darren? Did you just call Henshaw coleslaw? Was that the reference to it?
Yeah,
That is hilarious. Man, I don't know. I mean, I agree with Van. Like, you can't really fire Scangarello and then be like, yeah, you're safe after the performance of the offensive line. There are a lot of variables with that offensive line, but I don't see how it happens.
Yeah, short, sweet. All right, that's the only other thing I really questioned about that. They did ask about Brad White, but apparently Brad White said CC143 said Brad White said on the podcast he's not interested in being a head coach. So if
Thank
you guys
you.
heard about Brad White leaves,
Somebody gets it. Somebody gets it. There's too many of them dummies who want to get the big chair, and they're not big chair guys.
Can I say one thing about the Brad White thing?
Go ahead.
People don't realize how ingrained Brad White is to Lexington and how much his family is ingrained to Lexington. He's very close to Aaron Hogue, who's the team chaplain. He's very involved with the state of Kentucky's FCA. His family's very involved with community here in Lexington, and Brad White would be one heck of a head coach. I mean, one heck of a head coach. But I think he's a guy that is, and Van and Anthony, let me know if I'm speaking out of line on this. There's probably a minority of coaches in college football that have the priority of family over football in the correct platform. Are we grown up enough to be able to admit that? I've only met 3. I've never met Brad White, but I'm assuming from what I've heard about him and what people told me that he would be my 4th. And I think he's found a place that his family loves, and I think he's one that's making a family decision on that. Now, eventually, you can only say no to so much money for so long. And then finally you go ahead and give the yes, which I don't blame anyone for. But man, you right now you're treated like a god here in Lexington. You're extremely respected in the college football community. Why in the world would you want to be able to risk that?
And he's extremely good.
Yes. Yes.
That's when you do your job well. Dude, he is. It's like my guy who coached me, Rick Smith. Rick Smith could have been a head coach somewhere. But for me, I think if I was coaching, you have more hands on young men as a coordinator than you do as a head coach. There's too many other things that you got to do and pinging around, all this stuff when you're a head coach. When as a coordinator, you can become intimate with your players.
Right.
And I think I think that's something I think Brad White enjoys, getting to know those players, not only in his position room, but that whole unit. And when you become head coach, you kind of lose that. And I'm gonna just say this: there are some guys who just need to be coordinators. You just need to be coordinators. Just stay there, because that's your calling. Let somebody else. Let John Harbaugh, who was a special team coach, let him lead the guys. But let me lead my unit and continue to lead my unit. And you can only do that if you're a coordinator. Once you get a head coach, you can't do both, really.
Right.
I'll say this before we move on. And you got endorsement from Kendrick Jones, who's Jaquez Jones, the father of Jaquez Jones. He says he's a first-class guy, so he dealt with them. Heads up. I'm gonna say this, all pun intended, because Max made the whole comment about Brad White being a good guy, family guy. I believe Brad White and Anwar Stewart are probably the only coaches who hasn't changed their marital status this time here. And Summerall before he left.
Wow.
All them jokers got divorced.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Gang of.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, just check it out. If you got some time,
Wow.
check it out, man.
Well, and some of them are still single, right?
Right.
Okay.
Which,
wow. Well, Collins is married, isn't he?
well, Collins is new. I don't know.
I'm just
Collins, he ain't got a chance to for Lexington to sink their claws into him.
That's why, for all you guys who want to be coaches, this is word to the wise, because my first year coach in high school, it's weird how these guys are at the facility all the time. You got to find you a significant other that understands your job.
Yes.
Period. You can't find someone who wants, well, you're not spending time. You're not going to be spending time with me, especially during this period of time. If you're in college, you're going to never spend that much time, because season ends, recruiting. When recruiting ends, recruiting starts. When recruiting ends, spring starts. When spring ends, recruiting starts. So you ain't never at home. So you got to find someone who understands that. And there's some women who are great with that.
Right. And I think as well, you saw the strongest marriages of spouses that were involved as well. I think of Mike Summers, who was my offensive line coach before John Schlarman. Coach Summers' wife, Miss Kathy, was around the facility all the time. You talk about cookies, buffalo chicken dip, you name it, she had it. And she would come and she remembered all of our birthdays. Every single one of us got something for our birthday, some sort of snack or something from her. The amount of times that she was in to have lunch with Coach Summers while we were at training table, the amount of times that she came to dinner while we were eating as a team during camp, constantly at the facility. And again, it wasn't an intrusive way. It wasn't I'm hovering around my spouse way. It was just two people that loved each other that were making it work in the realm of the profession that they were in. And so I always respected Coach Summers and Miss Kathy, and especially now living close to them and seeing their life as retired now has been cool to see as well.
Yeah, I'd be getting divorced for different reasons, because I'd be constantly being like, why did you run that? What are you doing? What is this scheme? Why are you doing this? Why are we lining up like this? What are you doing out there? So I wouldn't be getting divorced because you're not paying enough attention. I'd be paying too much attention.
Corey Price posed a question quite a while ago. We're gonna ask it. What's the percentages? I think Carrie said something that Max said. So y'all both keep talking about Will was hurt, and that's fine. I don't know how Max feels. I mean, maybe you don't have a voice in a huddle, but if you are hurt and you are causing me victories, get your ass out the game. I don't care what your draft stock is. I'm not losing the game. Now you might be able to be a receiver that's gimpy, possibly a running back that's gimpy. But if the ball goes through you every single time and we don't have our range of options open because you hurt, I'm tired of people saying that. And I love Will. I was down on Will when he first got here because I was mad they got rid of Joey and guys that were already fighting for the spot. But he proved me wrong, that he can really play this game and can be an asset to the university. But now everybody giving them mulligans for everything that goes wrong. So which one of y'all, because y'all was saying he was hurt early, do either one of y'all think he does play in the bowl game? And if you do, are you 50-50, 30-70?
First of all, I would just like to state for the record, I did not say that he was hurt. I just want to say that wasn't my excuse. My excuse was Scangarello. That was mine. But Carrie, you can start.
I'm 80-20. I can see him really honestly as being a guy who wants to finish it out. And again, I have no facts. It's all just rumors of what I heard at the beginning of the season from various people. But I see him as a guy who, regardless of NFL draft and status and all that kind of thing, I see him as a guy who wants to finish it out and has a real loyalty to his teammates in this university and the fans. So You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna change it. I'm going. He played 95%. There's a 5% chance that he doesn't. I'd be very, very, very surprised if he doesn't.
I don't think it's in his DNA, but Max, you think he plays? And it may not be. There may not be protection from the NFL, and it may not really so much be the injury.
Right. I don't know. It's still a toss-up for me. And my opinion on playing in bowl games and stuff has changed. It's never really changed. I've always believed in. I mean, I've played with guys that would this is a new thing of guys playing or not playing in bowl games. It was always declaring early for the NFL draft or for going their fourth year to play in the draft, to which none of us would ever play, would never blame a teammate for wanting to go to the next level. Especially you got an opportunity to get the money. By all means, you go and do what you need to do. You got to do what's best for you and your family. That's again, this is personally me. And you look at the amount of money now between, especially being around a guy, my roommate Larry, who went third round with the Detroit Lions, and seeing the amount that he signed in contract. His signing bonus, again, the money that you get regardless if you play one down or not, or you sign in and go, sucker, I'm leaving, you still get that money, versus what a first round draft pick makes and the drop that comes by. Larry and I were talking about on the postgame show. It's very similar to where, Lee Corso's probably going to retire this year from College Game Day. All of a sudden you get a knock at the door. And they go, Max, you know what? We want you to join Pat McAfee as the two new additions to College Game Day. And we're going to sign you on a $25 million contract. But if you go and do the UK WVLK postgame show with Larry Glover and Max Godby, and you say or have a really bad football take, that money goes from $25 million to $1 million. Are you still going to do it? And I told Larry I would not come to the show that next week. I would just take my money and run. So depending on how much money it is, I think that's the ultimate factor.
Well, I don't think he knows, because I ain't gonna say, we're gonna wait till we get closer to draft time, because I don't want people breathing down my neck. There's a lot of stuff to be discussed. There's a lot of testing to be done before we know exactly how much money we're gonna make. It's been a lot of them expected to be gone in the first round. You sitting around there on day 2, trying to scratch your head like, what the heck went wrong? Man, do you have a problem with what John just said? He said today, do you have a problem with him even saying he got to wait till next week? Does that strike anybody? And he's been groomed to say the right things. Does that not strike you as, if it ain't a definite yes, then it's pretty much a no to me? If you can't tell me right now you about to ball out with me, unless it's injury related,
and that's why I think it is. I think it's injury related. I think we're both cut from the same cloth. I think he still should play. I'm not upset if he doesn't, but I personally think he should play. First of all, if not for Kentucky, he would not be a first-round pick. I mean, that's facts. If he doesn't come here, it's not that he owes us, but he owes us. You know what I'm saying? So, but he has an injury that takes time. And the Mississippi State game, he went on that run, right? He went on that. I don't know if it was a boot. No, he escaped. And he had a noticeable hitch in his gait. It was noticeable. It was obvious you can't go. A couple weeks later, that stride pattern got a little bit better. Last week, that stride pattern was almost what it was last year. So now he's got 4 weeks, possibly. And we all know how important the bowl prep is for the young kids. It ain't for you old guys. You've gone to battle for 12 weeks. We don't need you to pound each other anymore. So honestly, how much practice should he get? Maybe the last week and a half? So he gets 2.5 weeks of not even being on that toe or on that foot or on that hamstring, whatever. If in 2.5 weeks or in a week or week and a half, he feels like, okay, I'm at 85%, because that's the best he's going to get. He's not getting to 100. You might get to 90. That's the best you'll get. He gets close to 90% and he says, you know what? I feel almost 90%. I can go. Then he will go. If he can't, if he feels like he's got a chance of re-injuring or is not at a point where he feels comfortable, then he shouldn't play. But as a former player, as a teammate, you got to tell me yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a former teammate, you got to tell me yesterday. As a parent and someone outside the locker room, I'm going to give you a little more time.
Well, he just said, I'll see how he said next week, which ain't to me, you won't know. I think, like, to let you, well, let me see how, how I got a couple nagging injuries. Let me see how much. He didn't say that. He said he's going to let you know next week.
So, Anthony, you know what happens next week, though? On Sunday, you find out what bowl game you go to.
That's what I was getting ready to say. We know where we're going to go on Sunday.
That's the other thing I was going to ask. So he ain't playing in the Liberty?
Or the Birmingham. I wouldn't play in the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah, I would.
I wouldn't.
Oh,
sorry,
man. You better get whatever bowl y'all can get, man.
Not
you had one bowl, man. Don't act like you had plenty of them.
I was playing, but at least we went to Atlanta. At least when we went to Atlanta. Vegas, Nashville, those are possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't, we can start getting prepared, man. If he doesn't play, and this is one thing that's thrown me for a loop all year. If he doesn't play, we don't see him. Can anybody explain to me this? If Kai Sharon ain't the guy, because we already talking about, look, how do you go through a whole season? And if Kai Sharon ain't the guy, why didn't we give Destin Wade some burn? Why didn't we give because Max, you probably know as well. I don't know what y'all springs were like, but we seen some dudes ball out in the spring and look like doo-doo on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I also seen some guys, just low through spring, but as soon as you put them on the field on Saturday, it's a different story. I just can't understand how we keep going back and forth. That Deuce Hogan ain't getting a shot. If Kai ain't the guy, or you not, and maybe they're gonna give him a playbook that he can execute this time. But
here's the difference. This is why I say it changes, right? Destin is a true freshman. Only having a week to prepare for a game might not be enough time. Maybe you don't feel comfortable. Maybe he can't digest the playbook. You give him 3 weeks, then you can totally cater totally to him. Maybe you have a better shot. And that's why I'm even more inclined to not have Will play or practice, because maybe we can give me a preview, a preface to what 2023 is going to be. Maybe give Destin Wade some run to see, okay, do you have something for next year, potentially the year after? Or do we need to find 2 to 3 quarterbacks in a portal?
Can you do that? Is that something you can do? Carrie, can you go on a portal and tell 2 quarterbacks you gonna come here and battle with another quarterback plus the people that's here?
Yeah. You get a guy with 1 or 2 years left, and you can get a young kid who I want to go to Alabama for the name on the chest, and I go there, and then I realize, oops, I'm not as good as all these other 5-star, 4-star quarterbacks. I stayed there 1 year, I realized it's time for me to go elsewhere. And then he got 4 years left. Yeah. And you can't get 2 guys who are seniors or grad guys to come, but you can definitely get a young guy and an older guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no, because a lot of those guys, they'd go in the portal and they end up getting stuck. So, they'd be thrilled to try and come and battle. I think anything. But yeah, you can totally for sure do that. What's the possibility? And just tell me I'm completely off base here with this. That Eddie Gran duct tapes something together for the bowl game. Quarterback wise or whatever.
He can do it.
You know, he's still on the staff, and
He can do
you
it.
know, it's the bowl game, and why not?
The guy had 3 offenses in 2019. I mean, he can put together something in 3 weeks.
You talk about a guy that's able to duct tape an offense together. Eddie Grant is probably the greatest offensive coordinator in the country that's able to do it. Between Drew Barker to Steven Johnson, developing an offense completely around Steven Johnson, then to Terry Wilson, to Sawyer Smith, to Lynn Bowden, the dude has proved over and over again he could script out something crazy in a month.
And that guy has a lot of nuts to in the bowl game. In the last play to throw a pass.
Yes. Yes.
With your quarterback to win a game. Come on, dude. I'm a Eddie Grant stan. I think people know that. But, dude, that guy, I'm telling you, I would say this. If Eddie Grant had Will Levis and Wan'Dale Robinson with that O-line, people would be putting a statue out front.
And we would still run Wildcat with no motion on 3rd and 5.
No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. We would run that Cincinnati offense he ran in 2012.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I don't think it's going to be that big of a surprise who the offensive coordinator is going to be in the bowl game, and I think they already knew.
Tomorrow?
Do you not know everybody that's on the staff is already in house? They knew what was up with Scangarello, man. When people start walking around whispering, or y'all talking, and then he walk by and they close
change direction. What's that little drivel with the kid running around the corner and he turns around?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he comes. Oh
Lord. Where we at? Gotta get back to the. So we don't know for certain at this point what hinges on what bowl game we gonna go to. They said Vegas, Nashville, Memphis.
Some people saying the Gator Bowl. I just don't see it. But
what
they're saying is they want to get Ole Miss to Vegas, and if you eliminate Ole Miss, then yeah, I don't see it, but I've heard it.
You can still, because depending on the grouping of the bowls, so it's not just strictly like record. It still goes by it, not just record and rank, but the bowls are still picked by like pods. So like a group of 4 SEC bowls will get to pick, right. And then a group of 5. So if Kentucky somehow is able to get in that group to where there are a couple of Florida bowls, they could still get picked as SEC 5 when they're really like SEC 8. They could still do that because a lot of it is based off of what's it called? Fan attendance and past history. Who's the best fit? Ole Miss would be a great fit for Vegas. Ole Miss would be a great fit for Nashville as well. Because they'll hotty toddy that thing up like no other.
Plus the opponent.
Exactly. And so I think a lot of it UK I think will ultimately always get a better deal in bowl games. I think it's shown that since being in the Stoops era. Because you will
downtown Tennessee fucking got over us.
Yeah, well, it's because the AD complained enough.
Right.
And that's a lesson to everyone watching. You kick and scream and whine and complain enough, you'll get your way.
Wasn't that Fat Phil Fulmer when he was the AD?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Fat Phil Fulmer, yeah.
Yes. Was he always fat though? So I don't
know.
Yeah,
he's always been fat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're talking about Luther Vandross.
right.
Big Luther, little Luther.
But I forgot that I keep forgetting that the Music City Bowl directly conflicts with the U of L UK basketball game on start time. So I think that was probably out for us.
And where are we playing U of L at?
Here in Lexington.
Oh yeah, because
that game's over already. Well, why
exactly.
I know, but you know,
is it going to even be nationally televised? Because
I think so. I'd have to look it up.
Hey, you supposed to watch the game last night while you throwing all that shade, man.
Dude.
Hey, we giving everybody a chance.
All right, man. Hey, Bellarmine. Just look at how Bellarmine played on UCLA.
Oh, that's good. I ain't. The other thing I did want to talk about or get your opinions on. Anybody got a problem with the bowl picture? The top 25, top 10. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC, Ohio State 5, Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State, Clemson, and Kansas State. Anybody got any problem with the top 6?
I think Tennessee should probably be ahead of Alabama just because they did beat Alabama. But other than that, no. I'm pretty good with. I'm definitely good with the top 4 currently. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but
Tennessee
You know what
can't
my
lose
buddy
to
brought
Tennessee.
to me, and I didn't know this. This may sway your opinion about that because I said the same thing. Without
can't lose
Hendon
to South
Hooker,
Carolina.
without Hendon in, does that changes the whole?
I
Dang,
don't
doesn't
think so. I don't think because Joe Milton is a good backup. He was a starter. This ain't the first time that a backup has come in. I mean, Ohio State had that a few years ago. So it's not the first time. But Tennessee, you can't lose to South Carolina. Alabama at least can say you lost to Tennessee on the road at the end on a field goal. That's a little bit different. But you got boat race in Columbia. That's not a good look. So I'm gonna say this. Don't let one of those teams slip up. Bama will get into the Final Four some way, somehow. If one of those teams slip up, they will get in. So it's just history. The odds say if one of those teams slip up, you cannot let Nick Saban not have a chance to win a natty. It's just going to happen.
I mean, there's a possibility if Michigan loses and TCU loses and USC loses, Alabama, that there is a distinct possibility if those 3 things coincide, Alabama could slide in there.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
But definitely all 3 they definitely there.
And another thing, I think Ohio State. I mean, you got to give Ohio just only because they got 1 loss, but the first sign of competition y'all played, y'all lost at home. And dude, you know the one thing, the quarterback, Michigan's quarterback didn't impress me at all. And when their running back went out, they didn't even have their starting running back. So, and I mean, the quarterback came through and made some plays at the end, but he struggled to meet that first half. So, I thought that was a difference. AJ Nance asked, does the conference championships matter in the playoff picture?
Yeah. I mean, here's
Winning
the bad part about
or
it,
do you have to lose for it to matter?
right? If Michigan lose to Purdue, they should drop. I mean, honestly, if Michigan was playing Ohio State, if they went for top 2 instead of these freaking divisions, then if they lose to Ohio State, they both would probably stay in. But you cannot lose to Purdue. You just can't. Does USC play?
They play
Utah?
Yes, they play Utah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So USC lose to Utah, that lost to Florida, if they lose to them, they fall out. So it's the bad part about some of these conference championships of a really good team against a meh team.
Well, and I know the committee is looking for an excuse to kick TCU out. And then and them losing their championship game, they're probably going to drop to 20 or something because
who are they playing?
Kansas State.
Playing Kansas State.
Oh yeah, you can't lose to Kansas State.
Yeah. So
I'm doing no, that's not football math. I'm doing Common Core math.
No, you said this. No, you said if which color beats Florida, who beat this person?
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
That's what it is.
Where is Notre Dame at? Are they in this picture anywhere?
I don't think they're in the top 10.
They lost
21. They 8-4.
They lost to Northwestern to start the season, and that was the only game that Northwestern won. Northwestern did not win a game on the North American continent this season. So think about that.
Wow.
But Notre Dame lost to Northwestern in Ireland, and they lost to
Nebraska.
Marshall. They lost to Marshall at Notre Dame.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
They paid them all that money to come up there and win and beat them.
He started off rough, but he ended the season well.
Yeah.
He started off rough. I thought he was gonna be fired.
But yeah, they lost to Marshall in South Bend in like September.
Yeah,
What you call it? Oh, that's what the Lake Dog was saying that Notre Dame doesn't have a conference. Yeah, I mean AJ does make a point. The argument is such and such team shouldn't be penalized for playing an additional game. I agree, but the matters discussion I listened to earlier this week. So I don't know if you don't make it to the champion. Yeah, but it's always benefited the SEC because I believe it's always been like a number one against like a number top 5 team. So if you lose to number one, you shouldn't really be penalized. But I guess if you're in an Ohio State situation where you play the biggest game of the doggone year, last game of the season, boy, that's rough.
Dude, Notre Dame lost to Stanford.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. I must have missed that one, but
Dude, they lost to Stanford.
yeah, and Stanford just or he resigned.
Dude, they lost to Stanford.
Their coach just resigned, I think.
All right, we're gonna go around the horn. If I miss something, Max, I missed something. A point you want to make?
No, just I'm glad I finally got to come on here with you guys. It seems like I talked to Anthony separately and Van separately, but never together. And so first time, I think this is the first time since you had me on when we were talking about Schlarman 2 years ago after he passed. So this is the first time in about 2 years. So this was a great way to end a Wednesday for sure.
Appreciate it.
Carrie, we forget some. I know you wide range. I did watch a little Maction last week. One Maction on Tuesday or
Tuesday
something.
and Wednesday.
It's Tuesday and Wednesdays, starting usually like at the end of October, beginning in November. Yeah, so you can watch college football Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Yes,
Friday,
yeah,
Saturday,
that's right.
Sunday.
Yeah. All the
Saturday
days.
on Monday.
All the days.
Monday Night Football.
Oh no, I'm talking
You said
college.
college.
Just college.
You
Oh,
watch
that's
every day
college.
if
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah, sorry, just college. Yeah. No, you know what? I'm not going to get as fired up as I was on Kevin's show on Sunday, but I'm excited to go to a bowl game. I don't care. I really don't. And I'm saying that I don't want to play in the Birmingham Bowl. I'll take the Birmingham Bowl. I'll take any bowl. I don't care. I don't ever want to reverse to where this football team was. I'm excited about going to a bowl game, and I'm excited. I still think this team hasn't hit its ceiling yet, and you're always going to have some, steps forward and steps back every season. That's just facts. You all know that as well as anybody, right? So, I think we should all just be enjoying this football ride. I really honestly do. And FCS playoffs are going on, so go catch some of those this weekend.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You just sparked something that you just said. I lost my thought. I had it when you said it. You said this team has almost hitting their ceiling. You do realize we're about to lose our whole linebacking core. We're about to lose. I don't know how many D line we're gonna lose.
Are you sure
We lose our quarterback, our running back.
You sure JJ Weaver's leaving?
I didn't know he wasn't. He did say he did flirt with Stan, huh?
Yeah. When he gets that evaluation.
Oh yeah. We gotta see the eval.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the portal, and that's why the portal is honestly. I'm kind of on Max's wagon with that. I like the portal. I'm all in on the portal. I think the portal has changed the game. I really honestly do, and I actually think it's changed the game for the better.
I agree. I'm gonna say this. You know what's crazy? Not too long ago, not maybe a little bit over a decade since Stupid's been here. We love going to the Liberty Bowl and the Music City Bowl. Those are the only 2 damn bowls we went to. 1 year Liberty, 1 year, and we were happy. We were happy than a pig and slop. But now apparently we're all bougie and drinks tea and crumpets. And now if we don't go to Florida, hey, it doesn't mean anything. Those extra 15 days of practice, man, is more valuable than the 12 weeks in the season. I promise you. So whatever bowl it is, totally valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't valuable if we not seeing Wade or Hogan or Aaron getting extra reps.
Don't bring up Hogan, dude. Hogan.
We don't, man. I can't stand we all do that. We ain't. And I know that they don't show us no practice. I can't stand when you don't get to see a person play, and people like, no, you can't do because people and Van and you are very guilty of this. You was on the same damn team. You was on the same damn team with me. You might have known I was on practice squad or on what they call scout team. So you didn't see me play, but everybody else in the damn city in the SEC would never be like, well, that backup running back. And if the OC don't give you a chance to play, you just don't get it. But now all of a sudden everybody see history. Oh, I mean, you were great. You didn't know that they wasn't even gonna let me break into the damn lineup. So stop saying the person you didn't see play ain't. We don't want. No, I want to see.
I'm calling cap. I'm calling cap. Here's the reason why. This is why you're captain. When you balled out, everybody on defense spoke to everybody that we could talk to. That damn A. White is a baller. I still haven't heard a teammate say anything about damn Deuce Hogan. I have not heard any. I haven't heard any. I haven't heard a whisper, any tea. I haven't heard a fart. I haven't heard anything that said Deuce Hogan can ball. Now we have heard. Have we not heard through the cracks in the wall that Destin Wade might be a guy with a little potential? Have we not heard that? I think we all have heard that. Have you heard that Deuce Hogan could be potentially the next quarterback?
Well, we missed on that one then.
Zero. I have not heard Deuce Hogan's name since spring football.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Stupid, man. Well, CC 143 wants to know Weaver's potential if he comes back. I mean, it'll be great. I mean, I think he's gonna be better, but like Van said, I think we gotta wait to see what his evaluation is for the NFL this year. So what happened to D Beckwith? I think just because his size, everybody think he's supposed to play.
He's a model. He is that guy. I don't know. I went to a little 2A high school. We had 300-some people in the whole high school. All right, so think about that. We had 300 people in the whole high school. We had a guy that was a real big guy. He was the first guy off the bus. He didn't put on his shoulder pads. Like I had to put my shoulder pads on a little big. This guy, he walked out first so the opponents can see, wow, that's a big dude. He couldn't play a lick, though, but he was the intimidator off the bus. That's D Beckwith.
All right, man. I want to say this. We had this on our show, and if Terry Brown was here, he probably enjoy it. I'm not sure Carrie may vouch for it, but the NCAA volleyball tournament starts. People, we had Coach Skinner on our show Sunday, and they won the SEC championship for I think the third year in a row. All he wanted his players to do was have the trophy, to hang around, take pictures. They not giving us no credit. I mean, they're not. Well, the sport of volleyball ain't getting enough credit. But we are not the defendant, but we won a national championship 2 years ago. And we the only team in the SEC to win one. And it's hard to win. Like, we the only team in the SEC to ever do it. We need to start trying to get behind I know everybody's not going to go out to watch the games, but we need to start making some noise on social media. And if you can get to the game, get the game. Just get the viewer ratings up. But, man, start showing our national championship volleyball team some respect, man. Please. I ask you that for me, please. But yes, we conclude this show. We appreciate Max for joining us. You can catch him on 590 AM.
590 AM, WVLK 97.3 FM.
Yeah.
Max, he knew what damn numbers it was.
I know.
He knew the numbers. He knew the numbers.
No, I knew it was 5-0. I knew it was 5-0. But I thought it was 90. Only one. Hey, I know. There's only one call numbers I know. There's only one call numbers I know. But and check out Carrie on Girls Beer Sports Podcast on Twitter and that stuff, man. Pretty good stuff. Follow them on Twitter. Follow them. That's all you're gonna do. Follow them on Twitter.
Well, what days you broadcast, Carrie?
So new shows usually drop on Tuesday mornings. So wherever good podcasts are free.
Everybody drops
like the
on
word
Tuesday.
free.
Religiously Kentucky. Believe in Kentucky. Everybody drops on Tuesday. We got to start dropping on Tuesday, man.
Oh, that's too saturated. It's too wet.
We ain't changing.
So we gotta go on a dry day. Let's burn this joke up.
No, honestly, man, appreciate y'all for checking us out. And if you like this show and want to go check other shows out, go to The Locker 411 on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn. You can check us out now. And Van and I will be back next Wednesday. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Find the outro. We go now.